Hey there everybody, and welcome back to the Utsuki portion of Kuon. Last time, you may recall, Utsuki had managed to find her way through the temple, only to be knocked out by a rather nasty tempest, shoved into a wicker chest, and has now found herself inside a very dreamlike tunnel of sorts. Now, as to where we actually are on the mansion grounds is a bit hard to say. We don't really have an accessible map, and well, even though this does kind of have appearances similar to what we saw underneath the temple, well, the almost dreamlike quality of it seems to say otherwise. But I did want to quickly show off at least this summons card. It sends out, well, a bound woman who basically kamikazes at enemies and proceeds to attempt to headbutt them. As I stated before, most of the summons are not really that useful. This one, it goes a little bit faster than the spider, but damage-wise it doesn't seem to do much. We can also see one of the major reasons for preferably stockpiling up on Hibari, especially in this situation, having to fight a possessed priest and a Yamabito. This can definitely be pretty draining on your spell cards. So I was fairly certain this possessed priest was not completely killed, but well, we can't downstab him. So the dreamlike quality of this area sometimes makes it a bit hard to tell how damaged we are, but meditations are free to do, so we can do them as often as we please. But down in this dead end, we do find a few nice items. One in particular is another new summon card. The Riko is incredibly useless, to say the least. It's another summons that's pretty much about as slow as, well, the spider, and somehow manages to do even less. It's basically a smelly mound. But here we see that our passageway is blocked by the, well, appearance of silk thread, which seems to propagate all around the mansion now. But rather easily we do find the solution to the problem with this scythe embedded in this body. But as we progress into the next area, we see a rather odd figure in that of Doman.
Father, what are you doing?
I am caring after the people in the cocoon. Unless they merge with another creature, they can't survive.
Unless these people merge with another creature, they cannot survive. Yes, my sister too.
Entering a cocoon 9 times will cure them. To help her, let her assimilate your flesh and blood.
Never.
reason she is dead. Now it's your turn. If a cocoon ruptures too early, merging will be a failure. To prevent that from happening, get into the wicker chest.
Yes, Father.
And we get some rather odd behavior from all parties. Doman seems to be, well, under the assumption that he needs to take care of whatever is living in these cocoons, though they appear to be the Gaki we've been fighting throughout the game. And he also seems to be under the apprehension that, well, Utsuki killed Kureha, which doesn't make much sense since we've seen Kureha moving about. And even more oddly is the fact that Utsuki seems to be willing to go along with it. I don't know, this is a very odd situation to be in, and perhaps we're just in a dream. We finally get a map of the area that we are in, which is merely labeled underground. So see that there is a dream chamber nearby, just layers upon layers of confusion. Peering through the crevice again, we see what almost appears to be Utsuki's disheveled body. That looked to be Kureha, but the figure is now gone. Are these all illusions meant to play on Utsuki's mind, or is it something much more? But we have this rather tricky enemy to deal with. We will actually get a much better look at what the Sochi Jogo can do. The only thing you have to keep in mind when using this particular summons card is that, well, you do have to kind of lead the enemy into it, otherwise it won't really go off. Yep, that's how quickly it can do the job. It is possibly the best weapon you have against those enemies.
I'm looking for my sister.
She is very close.
And as we follow behind the twin children, we see a room full of wicker chests. Clearly very bad signs from what we've been able to garner from the game. Thankfully though, they all appear to be empty and not cadaver filled or full of something much worse. Our main point of interest, though, is the wicker chest in the back here with, well, what appears to be Utsuki.
If you want a new life, enter the wicker chest. If you enter a cocoon, you'll return to where you were. On that day, we put your sister in a wicker chest.
The people inside the cocoons. What are they thinking about?
Two will merge into one and dream a long, long dream.
Two will merge into one. A long, long dream. Where am I? Blood?
And with that, we wake up from what could very well have been a very odd dream, or more than likely a very harsh reality. But where we actually are right now is the main gate leading into the temple, what was actually the home for Doman and his two daughters. Before we head forward, though, it's good to investigate, well, the bloodied wicker chest that may have contained us beforehand. We find a rather odd sacred cloth. We're actually only going to be using that particular sacred cloth once, and it's actually entirely optional. And as we enter the temple grounds, we're immediately accosted by two Gaki. Still not very difficult, and it does give some better opportunity to show how great the Dagger of Winter is. But before we continue forward, I did want to take a quick look at what appears to be a sluice for the waterfall. Now, as to why we can't actually manipulate it, that's because it is actually a puzzle of sorts for the Sakuya portion of the game. They're actually a little bit lenient as regards to puzzles for Utsuki. Here is where we're introduced to a mechanic that is kind of like crouching in that it's very situational. but it is jumping. We can't really jump in too many places. Yamabitos are certainly Hibari sponges. But we immediately get to use our Neptune cloth. And what's waiting inside is a number of interesting things, such as this document. We actually get to get a little bit more insight into Kureha's mind. Here she talks a little bit about, I'm not even going to pronounce that, that S word is basically the Japanese form of backgammon. You can actually unlock a version of it to play in the game, and I'll be showing that off in a bonus. But apparently Utsuki was very much into the game, but had managed to lose the pieces somewhere, well, in the shrine. Apparently Kureha had managed to find it, or at least figure out where the pieces were, and they're actually in this room. First things first, though, we do get to pick up some more summon cards. Yes, this is a brand new summons. Yet again, not that useful, but I will still be showing it off.
A new victim? I'm allowed to live because I produce cocoons. Are you waiting to be fed too? Waiting to...
I can only imagine what the production of cocoons must entail for a human being. But over in this corner we do find the Sugoroko pieces. Felt like giving that a try. Hopefully it's not horribly butchered. But to actually be able to play the game, you do have to find the board in the Sakuya portion of the game. We will be doing that. In this far storage area, we do have plenty of nice items waiting for us. You can also kind of hear off camera what sounds to be shuffling or eating, and that is the fact that there are two Yamabito. But we can actually leave them be, and they won't bother us. We also get a little bit of backstory about, well, where the silkworms came from in regards to the shrine. Apparently ancient mulberry trees were planted here long, long ago, and a shrine was built up around them. Yet again, that seems to have a direct connection with all the silk and rather odd and evil goings on right now. Also, we're getting randomly assaulted by ghostly voices. They almost sound like they might be Kureha or possibly Utsuki. But they seem to be directly addressing Utsuki, so I have a stronger assumption that it's supposed to be Kureha. Also over in this corner we do get the shrine map. Can go ahead and take a quick look at that. See that Utsuki's room is nearby. Also, one of the 2 mulberry trees that the shrine was built around is nearby as well. But our passageway to get to the mulberry trees, or the rest of the shrine, is kind of cut off. Looks like we're gonna have to actually cut a path through Utsuki's room. What was a bit off-putting about the map, though, was that there was no mention of Kureha's room. I wonder where that might be. Also, we see the remains of what appeared to be a rather gruesome battle between someone and a pair of gaki. But as of yet, we actually haven't seen anyone else that might be fighting the gaki. But here we see the counterpart of the diary that we had found in the storage area. This is also going over the missing game pieces and how, for some reason or another, Doman just told them both to stop searching. And apparently Utsuki attempted to pray to the mulberry trees, but they didn't answer her prayers. We find another very large but empty cocoon. And so far those have never been a good sign. But here we have the main hall of the shrine. We have a few doors we can try, but ultimately we find that they are inaccessible or locked. But if we do search the center, we will find that there seems to be a smaller door that actually leads to a rather mysterious inner chamber.
Please kill me.
And in this chamber we do find our final weapon upgrade. The Summer Blade is, well, our most powerful melee weapon, and one we're going to be using for the rest of the game. Yet again, it's still only a 2-hit combo, and it replaces the ice with fire, not a major difference. And that was a very odd reaction to Utsuki. What we find here are actual first words from Utsuki's father, Doman, going over a bit about his investigation into the silkworms of the shrine, and how they might have the ability to bring back the dead, but it requires being fused with the flesh of something living 9 times. Also his final words there about harnessing black magic and, well, almost having a paranoid angle to it, kind of gives the impression that maybe there's something mentally unstable with Doman. For now, though, we should probably find out who or what that particular gentleman in yellow was. I mean, that yellow garb was something that we had seen before on the character Sakuya earlier in the playthrough, but, well, we hadn't seen or heard that she had had any companions. The question becomes, though, well, which way did he go? With that Gaki falling over, our progression back is now blocked, so hopefully we can find out that gentleman in yellow and find some other way around. And say hello to our second boss fight against a gentleman named Dokai. For those that have been following the Sakuya playthrough, well, you'll recognize this gentleman as one of her priest brethren. And, well, let's just say that things didn't go so well for him. We never actually see what happens to him, but in his current state, well, he seems to have joined up with the demons, and, well, he's managed to keep some of his priestly powers, such as being able to use spells against us. He can also summon a Tempest at will. He is actually a fairly dangerous fight, and, well, he's probably one of the reasons you want to use the Saiga card. Because as you can tell, there's no real sign as to when he's going to be using that Tempest attack, and, well, dodging that fire spell can be kind of difficult. Rather oddly, though, his behavior is almost cowardly, as he, well, will constantly try to crawl away from you. It does make using melee against him pretty much an impossibility, especially with the fact that once you get close, he'll just start spamming Tempest at you. So hopefully by this point you've become very accustomed to using spell cards, otherwise, well, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. Thankfully, though, there is actually plenty of cover with nearby posts where you can meditate at will. It's usually not a good idea to meditate so close to him. But for defeating Dokai, we do get another Sacred Claw. And this one is actually used to unlock one of the doors in the temple. Also, through our fighting, it has uncovered this hole in the wall here, which leads to a very odd room. Rather bloodied mess that was called Utsuki's room, but once we pick up this new spell card, we will find a rather odd diary over here amongst the blood. This one, well, this one involves a very large plot point. Apparently, Kureha had taken a rather nasty fall off a cliff and probably should have been killed. For some reason, though, she managed to stay alive, except that her flesh started to melt, and Utsuki, every time she saw her, would start to cry. Apparently then, Kureha started to be visited by some rather odd twins, who gave her instructions about crawling into wicker chest and promising that she would be alright. Amazingly enough, Kureha did start to get better, but upon mentioning this to her father, Kureha was told about the whole resurrection and cocoon things, and apparently learned that Utsuki had pushed her off a cliff.
That's correct. I had absolutely no choice.
And amongst all the bloodied boxes and cold air circling around us, we do find that there were some additional words written into Kureha's diary. So we'll just go ahead and skip to the final page to find out that Utsuki is dead. So we're a dead person. Or are we? Are we Kureha? Who are we? Well, for right now, we have to keep those thoughts behind us instead to keep moving forward. We can get a little bit of usage out of our new summer blade against this Gaki. Really, the damage difference maybe is 2 less strikes to do against a Gaki. It's not really that noticeable.
She's awake. Go to the mulberry tree. Let's go to the mulberry tree.
What on earth had happened to one of the twins?
Kureha! Please hurry! Just a second, Utsuki! Please, hang on! Let's have some fun. Kureha! Wake up! Wake up! Do you want to bring her back? Do you really want to bring her back?
On that day, Utsuki killed me. Yes, you pushed me and killed me right here.
And we get some rather startling information. Perhaps some misguided vengeance from a long-dead spirit? It's honestly hard to say. But from what we can gather, all the being of Utsuki and Kureha are combined down into one, probably from being in the wicker chests, and some dark forces are pulling them towards immortality. For right now, though, we have reached a nice save point, so this is a good point to stop off. Hopefully you'll join me next time, as we'll be finishing up the Utsuki portion of Kuon. See you then.